What's going on, guys? I'm going to be showing you how to install a flipping dip on a KTM 690 SMCR. This is the 2019 Plus model. So if you have one of these up until 2025, I'm pretty sure it's all the same. Let's go. So first thing we want to do is get the seat off so we can get this back panel off. For the newer models, you have to take off the fuel cap to get to the release pulley tab. For some of the older models, I think the tab is still down here. But yeah, for these new ones, it's hidden in here. So we're just going to pull that, release the seat. Place that over here. Now that's off, we've got 2 bolts here, and then this piece will slide back and come off. Don't forget to also take these black spacer pieces with you. Don't drop them down the bike. Okay, that's out. Actually, before we slide this off, we're going to take off the 2 bolts here on either side. And there's a little hidden bolt underneath, a little 8mm bolt here. So we need to take that one off as well. So we'll do these side ones real quick. Cool, now we've got the bottom one off, the 2 side ones, and the 2 here holding the plastics. This top piece will slide off. Here we go. Now it's a case of dealing with the wires, getting the indicators off, and getting the rear light off. So we're just going to snip these zip ties so we can work on this. We're going to obviously reuse and remount these indicators, so we're going to be gentle with these. Let's just start unplugging them. Little squeeze and pull on these plugs. Squeeze and pull, that's both indicators. This is the rear light, which we're going to reuse on our bracket. And then the last thing is the plate light, which is this one, which we'll deal with after. So we're going to remove the indicators. These are 30mm spanner to get these off. Again, just gently. Take all the washers and nut with us. Oh. Safe, inside. So as I mentioned, we're going to be reusing the rear light, so we're going to remove that. It's a T20 star head, Allen key. And the last bolt. So now we'll wiggle this out. And we've got the light off. The main thing to note here is that these actually have rubber grommets. And we're going to take these out and reuse these. It's really important that we take these out with us. So to get the light off, we're going to take these 2 bolts out. This should split the panel, and then we should have access to the light's plug, and we should be able to just disconnect it. So if you can pry this apart, you should be able to wiggle the wire out and then just undo the plug. And then that's that. And then from this end, we'll pull this out. And then now all the wires are off, we can do the final 2 bolts underneath and get this whole piece off. Now they're off, this should just wiggle off. And we're off. So we've got our flipping dip top piece, and we're gonna transfer the grommets over to this hole, and this hole. And then there's that. And then all the light does is it just slots into that. We run the cables through that little hole. And then just push in there. Just gently feed that in, and then you can see that all the threads now are now exposed. So now that's all pushed in, all we got to do is just reinsert the bolts we used earlier. There we go, lights on, solid, should look like that. Next up is the indicators, just as easy as the light. Run the wire through, get the original washers. We'll use both again. This one. And then grab one of the original nuts for the indicators. So we're just finishing off this bolt, making sure both indicators are nice and straight. And once it's installed, it should look like this. And then from the front, like that. So all we need to do is install it with these two holes here. So we're going to slide that back, line that up. Get that in by hand to the other side. And we'll get the last M612 in there on this side, and then we'll nip it all up. Cool. And then we're good. We're just gonna marry up the cables and then we're done. So once you've got your indicator plugs in, just triple check that you've got them the right way round. So going right is correct, and then going left is all working, and the rear light's back on. So before we clean up all these wires and zip tie them in, we're gonna get the flip and dip installed with the two holes. So we've got this one in a low mount position. So we use the holes underneath, and it'll line up like this. And then we're just gonna put a bolt in, nut and washer on this side. It's a little bit tight with the indicators in there. So, I mean, I can make it work, but if you can't, just loosen off the indicators, pull them out of the way, and then you'll be all right. So these are the holes here. So we're gonna line all this up. We'll get the bolt in first from underneath. You can see it's a bit tight, but once you pull the bolt down a bit, you can get everything on it relatively easy. And then we'll just get that nut on there. So there we go, we've got the nut on, and then all we'll do is slap a spanner in there, tighten from the bottom. And then just the nut. A little technique, if you hold the nut in place and twist from the bottom, then you haven't got to twist the nut and risk it falling off. So that's a little bit easier. If you hold the nut firm, twist from the bottom, it's much easier. Tricks from Joe. So we've got the bracket on, the lights are looking good, the indicators looking good, we've got the low mount here. I'll show you where to plate on at the end. We're just gonna zip tie all these wires together, tuck them in this little space, and then we'll get the plate on and all the panels back on. So when you're installing this panel, just remember that we have a hole for the hook here. And obviously when you're sliding in, make sure all these slider bits are going in the right place. So that's all installed, it's looking good. Here's how the low mount looks on the bike. Of course, we'll flip as well. That's it. Enjoy, thank you guys. I'll see you on the road.